Hey y'all, my name is Ann Wyatt. I started my career in workforce development with the state of Kentucky in 2010. That experience ignited a deep passion for manufacturing within me. I started this show hoping to raise more awareness around the bright outlook manufacturing careers have. Join me as I sit down with some of the manufacturing industry's most successful changemakers and learn how they're partnering people with technology. It's time to give people more meaningful work. This is Workforce 4.0. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Workforce 4.0. I'm your host, Ann Wyatt. I'm super excited to have Devin Leonard here with us today from Igus. And Devin is actually my neighbor. He's down in Birmingham, Alabama. Love having fellow Alabamians on the show. Devin is with Igus, and he is going to talk a little bit more about his own career journey today. Looking forward to that. Also, some really cool stuff that Igus has been up to with their technology and their preventative maintenance. And lastly, we're going to get into FABTECH, which is this week. And I'm super, super excited that you all are going to be there and learn more about what that holds for you as well. But Devin, for those of the audience that may not be as familiar with Igus or may not know who you are, I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself.
Sure, and thanks for having me today. So, like Ann mentioned, my name is Devin Leonard. I'm an Igus territory sales manager. I've been with Igus for 4 years now, and I cover all of Alabama, Mississippi, most of the Florida Panhandle, and a good portion of Louisiana as well. And basically, where Igus lives is anything that moves. So in my particular case, I focus on moving cable management and continuous flex electrical and fiber optic cables for linear motion and as well as 6-axis robotic motion. And then there's another division of Igus for our dry running products, but lubricant-free bearings and slides and screw drives and gantry systems, all that sort of stuff. So that's the 30,000-foot view there for me in Igus.
That's really awesome. Yeah, I know. I love that. I feel a mutual connection of ours connected us, and they were like, "You gotta have Devin on because he's in Alabama," and I'm like, "That's awesome."
Yeah.
I gotta know. Do you watch football?
I don't follow it as closely as most of my colleagues, I would say, but I try to keep up with it.
Do you ever? Is it like a thing? I'm sure it is. But have you noticed it's like really serious here? Have you noticed that?
Oh yeah, no, it definitely is. I've never really had too much skin in the game myself.
Me
Get to
either.
in Alabama. Obviously, the big conversation is Alabama and Auburn. Typically, I've traditionally leaned Alabama. My grandfather went there for his undergrad. My brother went there. I went out of state myself. But yeah, it's definitely taken quite seriously. I have seen it.
That is like the hardest thing for me to convey to people. I'm like, no, I don't think you understand when I'm talking about Alabama. It's like when
Right.
I'm talking about it. And I'm like, I don't think you understand how serious football of a conversation football is here.
Yeah,
Like
it's definitely a cultural keystone.
but yeah, I've got to give you the formal Workforce 4.0 welcome here. And I got to know, I'm a huge music lover. I don't know where you stand on music and kind of what your favorite genre is, but
Yeah.
I don't know what your favorite karaoke song is for sure. Cause I like to sing, big shower, karaoke car
Yeah, of
singer
course. Yeah.
person.
God, I mean, it's hard to nail down. I like to think I've got a pretty eclectic music taste, but probably one of my go-to songs for karaoke to myself and also just listening to is a song called Hallways by a band called Islands. It's a really fun song. It's definitely one of my go-tos, and it's easy enough for me to sing. So that's the main reason I like it for karaoke reasons. So I can almost pull it off.
Do you go to karaoke? Do you like karaoke?
No, I can't say that I do. I've been, but usually I have to get some liquid courage, and it's not something I'll do readily. That's for sure.
I was asking because I was curious if there were any good karaoke bars down in Birmingham.
I know there's a few, but I'm not a frequenter of them. And I think there's a couple up in Huntsville, but yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't be able to give you any recommendations on that front, unfortunately.
That's all good. All good. Had to ask.
Yeah, no, of course, that's fair.
Yeah. And I guess it's up to some really cool things. You all are really making your brand, people aware of your brand, I feel like, at shows. I think the last several shows I've been to, I've seen you guys at a booth, working the booth and everything. And I've seen the smaller cobot and stuff.
Hmm.
But you guys are going to be at FABTECH this week, right?
Yes, we are. We're going to have a good sized booth there and a nice group of colleagues. Unfortunately, I won't be attending myself, but there will be plenty of knowledgeable Igus staff there. And we put a lot of work into our trade show booths. FABTECH's a big one for us, and we're really excited to connect with everybody there. And it should be a nice demonstration of everything we've got to offer, both on the cable management and cable side of things, as well as our bearings division for dry running movement technology. So we're really excited to be there this year, and especially since it's still going on after that hurricane.
Yeah, I know. I think everybody was okay. Are we still doing FABTECH?
Yeah, no, it was my colleague down in Orlando. I actually haven't heard from him. I'm assuming he's still without power, but I'm also assuming he's alive. But he's based right in Orlando, and I remember before it hit, he was telling me even the locals were taking this one pretty seriously, which is saying something because they've got a different outlook than we do in these more protected areas.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you see all the TikTok videos and all of the reels and stuff of people in Florida, and you're like, I would get out, I would leave. But that's a pretty common thing, right?
Yeah, they're definitely not numb to it, but it takes a lot to get them scared, I think.
Yeah, we got some pretty good rain from Helene. Not anything like
Georgia,
maybe
North Carolina, and
yeah, not anything like that. But we still get in on the hurricane scene some.
I remember Opal was pretty bad. I mean, that was back when I was like 4. Opal was pretty bad, and I remember Ivan was pretty bad for us too, coming up through just central Alabama. So yeah, we're not immune to it, that's for sure.
For sure. I'm happy that FABTECH is still happening. I've got a lot of friends going to that show. I'm not personally going this year, but what's one thing that you are most excited about sharing? Is there anything new with that you're showcasing this year that you're excited about?
Yeah, I would say so. We're synonymous with cable management in the industry. We're one of the only folks that have boots on the ground in terms of folks like me that can go out and look at applications and help with e-chains and cable management and continuous flex cables. So that's really what we're known for. But something that's reasonably new to Igus is our low cost automation and RBTX platform. So basically what we've tried to do, since we've got such an expertise in motion in general, we've tried to we are parlaying that into low cost automation solutions, whether that be turnkey robotic gantries or Delta robots, or even some of our own in-house low cost robotic arms. We've been promoting that a lot because we see it's going to fill a gap for automation in industry where someone may not want to spend 60 to well into the 6 figures on industrial robots or universal cobots, that sort of thing, where we might be able to fill a gap for a $5,000 to $15,000 automation solution. And we've got a really great team in place with our RBTX folks. They're super knowledgeable. They're going to have their own separate booth set up at FABTECH next to our Igus booth. And so it's a really exciting offering for all of our customers who know our stuff, but through the RBTX platform, they can get to know us a little better and really tie everything that we do under one roof as far as automation and motion goes.
Very cool. Yeah, I've seen that little cobot at the shows, and our mutual connection, Jacob Sanchez, he was at IMTS, and then I saw at Assembly Show as well. And it was not a mistake, but as a parent, I think other parents will get this and find this humorous. But I made the mistake here of picking up one of these robot keychains, and that's the RBTX robot there. If you guys haven't seen it, that's a little keychain replication of it. Love that. I picked one up at Assembly Show for my kiddo because he's obsessed. And I wonder where he gets that from. And I give it to him after the Assembly Show in May, Assembly Show South, to clarify. And the next thing I know, he's lost it. And y'all want to talk about epic meltdown. This kid was in tears.
It's a cool keychain. I can hardly blame him.
It is a really cool keychain, and it's really very unique. There's not a lot of these types of keychains running around. So at IMTS, I got 3.
Stocked up a little bit.
I had to stock up on the robot keychains, and I was like, Jacob, can you help me out here? Phoenix is throwing a fit. And so I have 3. So I keep these in my desk as backups now. So.
Yeah, there you go. Have some backstock.
Forward thinking.
Yeah,
yeah. And I love that he's into it, because it's really encourages me to think that he's thinking more about automation, industrial controls, robotics, manufacturing, all of that as a solid career path for him.
Absolutely.
And I don't really think, I did not have that. Did you have that?
No, not really. Honestly, I did not. That's not something that I always thought, as a kid, I certainly thought robots were cool, and I didn't know much about them. I didn't have a lot of exposure to the field in high school or college. I didn't take a STEM path, so that probably is part of it. But yeah, I did not have that exposure. And if I had it earlier, I probably would have been in the same line of work, but maybe on a little more technical side or engineering side. But I like to see the younger generation get interested in it, because it's a cool field, and all it does is help everybody in the end.
Yeah. How did you get here? This is one of my favorite questions to ask people. Like, how did you get here?
It wasn't a straight line path, that's for sure. Right out of college, my first job for a year or so was teaching tennis professionally here in Birmingham at a club. I did that for a couple of years, and then through that, I got into construction sales, basically for building envelopes, aluminum curtain wall systems, and fabrication for aluminum curtain walls for like high rises and skyscrapers. And I wound up with Igus 4 years ago. Was hired. I was a COVID baby as far as that's concerned. Hired in July 2020, and did a completely virtual training session. I actually didn't really meet Igus counterpart, since it was in the middle of COVID. I didn't meet a coworker for about 6 months. But it's been a great journey so far. I've really enjoyed working here, and I feel pretty lucky to have found the position, because it's been a great fit for me.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So went from tennis to...
Yeah, went from being outside on my feet all day, which I enjoyed, to sales, but it's got its checks and balances. I miss being outside a lot, but at the same time, the only time you can make money as a teaching tennis professional is working Saturdays, Sundays, and 3-day weekend holidays, stuff like that. So I'm glad to have standard days off nowadays.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, you're not working nights and weekends and all that cool stuff. Yeah. And you get to be exposed more to like technology and applications that are cool that I don't think that I know I was not aware of.
Sure. Yeah, I see really cool stuff every day. Everything from rocket factories to a CNC table manufacturer. Obviously, automotive is huge down here in the Southeast, because we've got Hyundai in Montgomery, Mercedes down towards Tuscaloosa, Nissan down in Canton, Mississippi, Toyota Mazda up in Huntsville, as well as Toyota Motor Manufacturing. A lot of cool applications in those facilities, and weird off-the-wall stuff up in Huntsville, defense-based projects, and crazy robotics applications that I see from our customers. So it's been really cool to see a lot of these facilities, as well as meet the incredibly bright people that are making all this stuff work, and to be a small part of some of those really cool processes and applications.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Huntsville's a different... What do we think about Huntsville? I like Huntsville, but you like Huntsville.
Yeah. No, so when I go up there, I usually stay in the Madison area. I've got a Hilton Garden Inn that's my favorite. There's a driving range right down the road from it, but there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's a nice town. I like spending time up there.
That's in town, Madison, where you stay, yeah?
Yeah, I like that Hilton Garden Inn. It's not far from the Toyota field. Nope. It's a good spot. When I'm done for the day, I can hit a lot of fun stuff when I'm in my downtime.
That's right up the road for me.
Yeah, the area.
Yeah. I'm in Madison. I'm like actually in a subdivision, like in between the airport and the Arsenal.
Gotcha. Okay.
And they were out there blowing stuff up this morning. I don't know.
Yeah, I know how that goes. I grew up like a mile away from the Anniston Army Depot, and I'm used to hearing large explosions on a random Wednesday, so I know how that goes.
right? It's 8 o'clock is their time too. They're on it. They're on it at 8 a.m. They're blowing stuff up. The house is rattling. That's good.
Check the foundation. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's so much innovation and technology up here. I love it. And I know that Igus does a lot with preventative maintenance as well. But when you're talking about things like blowing stuff up and high automation, there's that whole aspect of safety.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, as far like what Igus tries to do, we started in just regular e-chains and cables, and because the way I tell it to people most of the time is a lot of these applications and machines, moving cables was not what the machine was designed to do. Like a crane wasn't designed to move the cables up and down the rail. It was designed to move work pieces up and down a factory floor, or a CNC machine wasn't designed to move the cables. It was designed to mill out a particular shape. And when it comes to, unfortunately, when it comes to maintenance, traditionally, one of the things that fails has been like the cable carriers, the cables. And what Igus does, we have two fronts that we work to decrease downtime and increase maintenance efficiency. One of which is that we have all of our products heavily tested. We've got a massive test lab in Germany. We run billions of tests a year. So before anything even gets installed, if we know the details of what's going on, we can say, hey, this chain and this cable is going to last X million number of cycles. The chain may last a little longer in this case, or the cable may. So people can just by default have an idea of when they can expect to potentially have to replace something, which helps with preventative maintenance on the front end. And that applies to our bearings products as well. I'm not super well armed in that field, but we can, similar things, we can, if we know details of what it's being used for, we can tell folks, hey, this is going to last 10 million rotations or pivots, whatever it may be. And on the other side of things, relating to Industry 4.0, we have a lot of really cool smart plastic systems that are actively monitoring the status of our product. So whether if it's an e-chain system, we've got systems that will tell you how much the chain has been worn. So is it at 100%, 75, 50, 25? Is it time to replace? And it'll alert the user or alert the maintenance manager. Other systems that can detect if all of a sudden a screwdriver fell in a guide trough, and rather than have it just rip everything apart and potentially fall down and hurt people, it can sense that something's wrong and stop it. So it's big on the safety side of things, especially anything overhead. If you can avoid people having to crawl up there or avoid a catastrophic blow up where something can hit somebody's head. And then also just from the predictive maintenance side of things, hey, this particular product is reaching the end of its lifespan. We need to start looking about replacing it.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting how technology is supporting safety for our frontline workforce. Have you guys seen any direct results from that, or?
Fortunately, I haven't had I can't think of a personal instance where like a failure has caused a safety incident. I do know of a few applications where for overhead style setups where our smart systems have detected issues and stopped something bad from happening. But just in general, it's been a big boom, because most of the time what we're trying to do is prevent those failures to begin with. Like I mentioned, like our testing and lifetime calculators on the front end of things, even before we had our smart plastics, have helped prevent a lot of issues and safety issues and breakdown stuff. So
no, that's awesome, because that's really part of the whole narrative about manufacturing careers. So they're not always the safest. So anytime that we can deploy technology to combat that and make it a safer environment,
get people away from heights, get people away from high temperatures, fast moving machinery components, the more you can take people out of that process, the better, for sure.
Absolutely. And then technology is really, I think it's really cool that we have leveraged it in other ways as well, especially when it comes to training, because we have so many job opportunities in manufacturing, and we have a finite amount of people, So, we're constantly having to go into other industry sectors and recruit other employees that maybe not won't have the experience to come in and perform that role like we did in the past.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that can be alleviated with the gathering of data and implementing Industry 4.0 systems. It can help bridge that gap between whether it's labor shortages or more experienced folks aging out of the workforce. It can be a tedious and long process to gather all that information and put all the right systems in place. But once they're there, the trade-offs are huge, because then where it used to take someone it used to rely on someone's tenure there, how long they've been in a particular position to have a feel for what's going on. Now someone can potentially walk into a position and just look at information that's been gathered over the course of years or months or whatever it may be, and make educated, accurate decisions.
Yeah. That's always like the conversation with tribal knowledge, right? We've had this employee and they've been here for 20 years and they just know. They know things. You've got the maintenance tech back there. He's been here, our manager. He or she's been here and they are back there and they walk in one day and the motors come in and they're like, this motor sounds funny.
Yeah, there's
It's
a
getting
weird
ready to
noise
go
going
out.
on. We need to look into this. Yeah. Hopefully, as time goes on, we can fill that gap for everyone and make it so it's not less of an art and more of a science, really.
Yeah. Yeah, really. We're applying the scientific method maybe
Yeah.
to things that have been always more human skills, but
Right.
I think that's definitely got its advantages with the training piece of it.
No, I completely agree. Absolutely.
Are there any specific applications that you're aware of that aid in that?
Trying to think. I would like specific applications. I know a big one for us as a company, that not so much what I've done personally. Igus has been very involved in ship to shore cranes, like in Virginia and Georgia, very big ports that have massive cranes that are running 24/7, 365. When something goes wrong with those, there's a massive issue. And I would say that through our products, we've helped negate any personnel turnover shifts that they have. The systems that we've helped them implement have made it so when there are issues, they're easy to address. Things just like we talked about before, before something catastrophic happens, it can be stopped and repaired. So it can be shut down for 30 minutes instead of 30 days, that sort of thing. And I know in the ship to shore port world, it's made a big difference.
That's a really interesting application, actually. I don't think about that kind of stuff. That's really helping. They're using that and leveraging that as a way to grow and advance their workforce and cut down that training time.
Correct, because now instead of having a system that nobody really has a feel for, when someone comes into a new position, they can look at a screen and know that a particular system has this much lifetime left on it, whatever it may be, and bridges that. And because the overall goal is to increase safety, decrease downtime, obviously, and improve productivity, make it more efficient, all of that. So
That's really cool. Is that something specific that you asked them for, or were they just like, hey, by the way, this is giving us this result on recruiting and training?
no, I can't say that it is. That's a specific thing. It's more of a inference I would be making, I guess, would be a better way to describe it. But yeah, I can't say that I've had any specific conversations with customers from the recruiting standpoint and filling that gap. No, but I think that's where it could make a difference, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's something that they should think about including into their like recruiting content and
Sure.
things like that when they're always
Right.
thinking over here. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, I think that if we can eliminate some of that training time, that's cool.
Get
Get
people
more
up and
people
running.
into it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, but I love technology. I love all the tech applications out there that are coming into the manufacturing scene right now. And those use cases for bridging training and talent gaps. And then also thinking about like how we're improving the safety of human lives for the industry. But I've got to know, what are some of your favorite technical applications that are like breaking onto the scene right now?
So there's a YouTube channel that I follow called 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝘀. It's like a science education channel, and it covers a really wide range of topics. And this isn't really related to, it's partly maybe related to Igus a little bit, but in the field of rocket manufacturing, traditionally it's been really large, complex machines that are made up of thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of individual components. And there's a few rocket manufacturers out there that are using SLS 3D printing to make rockets out of in a single component. So it's taking part counts down by a huge margin. And I just think it's really cool because it's their whole process has changed from they can just build a prototype, test it out, scrap it, try a new one, modify it slightly. I just, that's probably the coolest thing that I've seen. And 3D printers typically do involve some e-chain and cable, which is nice. But as far as kind of new manufacturing applications that I've seen out in the world, that's probably the one that I think is the coolest, along with just 3D building of homes, which I know is popular for a lot of folks. But yeah, I'd say that's where my head's at.
Yeah, like 3D printing is cool, right?
Yes, it is. I would like to get into it, but I don't know that I've got the time or the skills, to be honest, but it is really neat.
Yeah, my kiddo has a 3D printer. And you just feed it little plastic like strings. It's from Toy Box, but you feed it little plastic strings and he's on his little iPad. He's making stuff. And I hear this thing running and I'm like, oh, we're printing something today. That's good.
Yeah.
But you can make so many cool things from a 3D printer, and it that a lot with houses, like the homes and stuff.
Right.
It's cool. But rockets even.
Yeah, it's really cool because I would imagine it'll expand to potentially even auto manufacturing to some extent at some point, rather than have many individual pieces. It's unibody frames, that sort of stuff. But like that technology helps decrease part count, which I think is cool because simpler is always better and typically cooler. So
that is interesting. We've standardized a lot of the manufacturing industry. There's this process, like auto body frames is a very good example of that. That is a defined process to the point of where we are able to mass produce cars at a high rate, which is the point. But rockets is still one of those untouched industries. Every single rocket it's not mass produced. And I think planes are like that as well. Yeah. There's nothing really mass produced here. There's like parts that are mass produced, but to the rocket itself it's a singular, you test it, it blows up,
and you're
building another one.
Yep. Yeah, and as far as I understand, because I'm not a rocket engineer by any means, but my understanding is up until the 3D printing revolution, in that regard, like it hasn't really changed a whole lot in the past 60 years since we first started making them, because the concepts are all very similar in terms of how they're built and how complex they are. And yeah, it's definitely seems like it's opening up a new world for that sort of space travel and satellites and everything else. Make it more cost effective, hopefully.
Cost effective, and then if you get more and more, then if you're producing them at a higher rate, then you inherently have more. There's more availability to it. It is very interesting. You think about everything that goes into rocket tests, and I just know this because I'm just an observer here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I just live here kind of situation. Like I just live here. But you think about what goes into testing a rocket. They have been Blue Origin's here in Huntsville, and they have been testing. They've been doing hot fire testing on that arsenal for well over a year now. So it shakes the house.
Yeah.
You hear it come on, they'll fire it up. I get so excited too, because it's like, where else can you live where you're like listening to a prototype being tested? They'll fire it up and you can hear it. And it sounds like a big jet engine. And it just rattles everything for as long as they've got it on, and then they'll turn it off. But they do that. That's at 8 o'clock in the evening. At 8 o'clock in the morning, they blow stuff up, and then 8 o'clock in the evening, they're turning the rocket on.
Yeah.
Like,
Gotta spread the love for everybody, I guess. Makes everybody get a little bit of noise pollution.
oh, I love it. I love it. Like, I'm so like obsessed with that. I'm like, oh, there's our rocket. But you think about how many these are the kinds of things that I think about. I don't know.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. It's a cool rabbit hole to go down most of the time.
How many times have they blown that thing up? I wonder how many times they've had to like remake this rocket that they're
Right.
testing.
Some little aerodynamic piece wasn't quite how they wanted it. The flow wasn't. The fuel mixture combination wasn't quite right. They had to tweak something. Yeah, but I just feel like it's a difficult but probably pretty rewarding process once they nail it.
For sure. For sure. But if they're 3D printing it,
Yeah,
that's gotta help out.
absolutely. Yeah, I don't know if Blue Origin's doing that, but they might want to consider it because I know that's coming up.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I just live here. So I just observe these things, and then they'll post it. They put out a PSA letting, hey,
Right. Hey, expect this. Yeah.
expect this.
It's not an attack.
It's not an attack. We're fine. It's just us over here. Sorry for the noise. Whatever. So that's how I know. And they're open about it. They're like, Blue Origin is testing its rocket tonight. Please be aware.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's a really cool. I love the concept of 3D printing, but this just sent me down a whole other. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all good. That's what we're here for.
For sure. Are there any other like cool technologies that you're like, oh my God, this is really cool?
There's a lot out there. I mean, I'm personally into a lot of all the woodworking technology that's out there, like on the individual level. I love most of that's been around for a long time, but trying to think. Not a huge fan of electric cars just yet, I will say that. So actually, yeah, any sort of new battery technology that's not lithium ion based always catches my attention. Don't have any real specific examples of that. I know there's been some like salt based batteries here and there that are for large long term storage, but I love renewable energy. I've got not a vendetta, but I don't like the investment in lithium ion batteries. I feel like that's not the answer in terms of like our renewable resource usage, but I love renewable energy. So that's probably like the other, whether it's wind or solar or geothermal. I guess the problem is usually just storing it. So all technology that is improving storage of renewables is something that I like to keep my eye on and be aware of just from an interest perspective.
Huh. Yeah. Huntsville is big on the Teslas. Up here, there's like Cybertrucks everywhere. But that's a big topic. If you get outside of Huntsville,
sure.
You know what I'm saying? You get into Athens, you get into Birmingham, Decatur.
Yeah.
That's a big concern, I think, for people, like the longevity and the viability of an ion battery.
Yeah, I don't think it's really there. I think that's for example, like in my particular position, if I had an electric car, I couldn't even do my job because there's too much driving involved. I believe in electric vehicles long term for sure, but I don't think that the lithium ion battery is going to get us there. We've got to figure something else out or do something like hydrogen fuel cell. I love that technology, even though it comes with its own set of challenges because obviously it takes energy to get pure hydrogen, but still a cool potential way to do it as well.
Yeah. Somebody sent me an article a couple of years ago on the hydrogen powered engine. And I thought that was really interesting. And I kind of wonder where the hesitation is on that.
Yeah, I think my understanding is that it's because like hydrogen can be burned in a traditional internal combustion engine. It can be used in a fuel cell and make an electric car run. I think the issue is more so that while that's great, you have to typically get hydrogen from water. We don't just have like free hydrogen in the atmosphere that we can just pull out of. So it's taking the energy to actually get the hydrogen. And so if you're burning fossil fuels to get hydrogen, then are you really accomplishing anything? So I think that's where that's hung up. Though you can make the same argument for, I guess, ion batteries as well, because all of the fossil fuel resources that go into mining it, refining it, etc. Could be a similar usage. So
interesting. Yeah. All the things, Devin, all the things to consider, right?
So many. Too complicated for me, but I try to keep a bird's eye view of everything and at least a medium understanding.
Yeah, I think it's really important to do that, because what if one of these things is going to take off for sure? But I think it's important to know where you are, like with technology.
Yeah. Know what's coming down the
understanding.
pipeline. It's good for personal interest and professionally. It's good to keep an eye out for new things that are coming down the line and just have an understanding of how the world works and how technology ties into it.
Absolutely. Very cool. I know that you've got a specific amount of time blocked off for this today, and I appreciate your time. I want to be cognizant of it. Really cool that you guys are going to be at FABTECH. Is there anything that you want to relay to people that may be at the show this week?
We'll definitely stop by and see us. I've got a lot of really knowledgeable, smart colleagues heading down there. We're going to have a really nice booth set up. If you've got any sort of application that has just the linear guide rails, if it moves and you've got something you want to figure out, come by and see us. I'm sure we'll be able to help you out.
Very cool. Very cool. And for those that are listening in the audience today, and they're also into space rocket rabbit holes, just kidding, or if they want to reach out to you and learn more about some of the cool solutions that Igus is offering, what's the best way for them to do that?
Typically, it's going to be my email. I'm pretty responsive there, and that's just dleonard@igus.net. I guess maybe we could tie that into the text part of this video, but email is usually the best way to go. So
absolutely, all of your contact information and your LinkedIn. Are you on LinkedIn?
Yes, I am.
Very cool. So all of that information will be linked in the show notes as well.
Perfect. Give me a shout if I can help.
Awesome. Very cool. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Devin. We really appreciate it. And thank you to everybody out there listening.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, y'all. We'll see you next week.